My daughter said, "Mom has a real man now. An alpha not like you. He gives us gifts and said he'll take us away from you." After those words, I opened my safe and headed to my wife's place, where they were celebrating her lover's birthday. Revenge was sweet. I was sitting on the edge of my daughter's bed, tucking her in like I always did when she looked up at me with those innocent wide eyes and whispered something that hollowed me out from the inside. "Mom says she has a real man now. An alpha. Not like you." I didn't blink, didn't cry, didn't scream. I just sat there frozen as her words hit me like a baseball bat wrapped in betrayal. My 8-year-old daughter repeating her mother's poison like it was the alphabet. That's when I knew, not suspected, knew something was going on. And it wasn't just a fling. It was full-blown character assassination. I kissed her forehead, took the blanket tighter around her, and walked out of the room like a ghost in my own home. It wasn't the first time I'd noticed the shifts. Madison had been dressing up more tight dresses for errands, fresh lipstick at 9 p.m., constant smiling at her phone like it was telling her sweet little lies. I told myself I was imagining things. That's what faithful husbands do. They gaslight themselves before they question their wives. But this was war. The house was quiet as I walked down the hall, but my blood was roaring in my ears. I grabbed a bottle of whiskey, the one I'd been saving for our anniversary, and sat in the dark, watching the garage door. She was out again. "Girls' night," she'd said, flashing that fake smile that no longer reached her eyes. Liar. I opened her laptop. She never locked it. Arrogance or stupidity, maybe both. I didn't have to dig far. A folder named Work Stuff, hilarious, and inside it, screenshots. Screenshots of texts, selfies in hotel bathrooms, and a video clip of her laughing breathlessly, whispering he's so different from my husband, so primal. I think I laughed. A sharp, broken laugh because it was all right there. My wife, Madison, the woman who once cried during our wedding vows, was cheating on me with some muscle-bound gorilla named Trent, the kind of guy who wins every sentence with bro and thinks protein powder is a food group. I watched that video 3 times, not because I needed confirmation, but because I couldn't believe how easy she made it for me to stop loving her. At 2:17 a.m., she walked through the door like she was returning from yoga. Tight black dress, heels in her hand, her hair messy, cheeks flushed. She smelled like cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't say anything. Just looked at her. Really looked. She froze when she saw my expression. "What?" she asked, blinking. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "You saw him tonight," I said. No question mark. She rolled her eyes. Rolled her FING eyes. "Are we seriously doing this?" I held up the laptop. The color drained from her face for a second. Just a flicker, then she smirked. She smirked. "Finally figured it out. Took you long enough. I thought you were smart, Josh." Her voice was so calm. Like we were talking about weather. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she added, in the most robotic tone I've ever heard. "Really? Then why did you bring our daughter into it?" She flinched. "You fed her your bullshit," I continued. "You used her as a messenger to tell me you've moved on." Madison shrugged. "Well, it's true. Trent is more of a man than you've ever been. He's ambitious, ripped, dominant. You're safe, boring, predictable." That's when it happened. That exact moment, I fell out of love with her. It was like a switch flipped. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even sad. I was done. I nodded, walked past her, and went straight to the bedroom. Packed my bag without saying a word. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, sneering like I was the one cheating. "You're just gonna leave?" she called after me. I zipped the suitcase. "You already did." I slept in a hotel that night. The next day, I called my lawyer. Then I called my daughter's school and updated my custody request. 30 days later, I had full custody. Madison had no apartment, no job, no alpha. Trent dumped her after finding out she was married. I took the house, started my new company, and never looked back. She lost everything because she chose image over substance. And me? I chose peace. The morning after I left, I watched the sunrise through the cracked window of a $78 motel room that smelled like stale air and broken dreams. My daughter's words still echoed in my head like a cruel lullaby. "Mom says she has a real man now. An alpha, not like you." I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't broken. I was. But there was something about betrayal that doesn't allow tears. It demands action. That morning, I called in sick to work, grabbed coffee from a gas station, and drove to my lawyer's office. His name was Cole Dawson, ex-Marine, now full-time pit bull in a suit. I handed him a flash drive and said, "Make her wish he never met me." Cole smiled like a shark. "You got it." Back at home, Madison texted me once. Just once. "So this is how you're handling it? Pathetic?" No apology. No guilt. No panic. Just pure arrogance. That told me everything I needed to know. She never thought I'd walk away. She assumed I'd beg, crawl, fight for her. She was wrong. While Cole worked on the custody paperwork, I started gathering everything I needed to rebuild my life. But more importantly, to protect my daughter, Claire, 8 years old. Innocent. Confused. She deserved peace. She didn't ask to be born into a mess. That weekend, I drove back to the house to grab more of my things. Madison wasn't home. The place was already different. Her perfume still lingered in the air like a ghost. Our wedding photo was gone from the hallway wall, replaced by a canvas print of a lion. Subtle. I opened her closet out of habit. Half of her clothes were missing. And on the floor, a pair of men's boots, size 12, not mine. In the kitchen, I found a bottle of champagne chilling in the fridge and 2 half-eaten containers of takeout sushi, her favorite. She was celebrating. I opened the dishwasher. 2 wine glasses, lipstick smudges on one, a smear of something that looked like chocolate on the other. The visual hit harder than I expected. I wasn't mad that she was with someone else. I was mad that she was comfortable doing it under the same roof where we raised our daughter, the same roof I once bled for to pay the mortgage. But the real twist came 2 days later. Cole called me with an update. "You're not gonna believe this, Joshua, her boyfriend, Trent Jacobs, the guy you saw in those messages. Yeah. He's married with 2 kids, and his wife just filed for separation after finding the same videos on his burner phone." My mouth went dry. Wait, how did she get the videos? Apparently, he was dumb enough to back them up to his iCloud. Wife had full access. She's coming after him hard, and she wants to talk to you. I didn't know whether to laugh or vomit. Madison had bragged about landing an alpha, but all she really got was a midlife crisis wrapped in protein powder and lies. They both deserved each other. I met Trent's wife, Julia, at a coffee shop 3 days later. She looked tired, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks, but her voice was strong. "He told me I was crazy," she said. "Said I was insecure. Gaslit me for months. I knew there was someone else, but I didn't know it was a married woman." "Your wife?" I nodded. "She played the same game with me." "You're not crazy." We exchanged info. She handed me printed copies of texts, photos, even hotel receipts. I gave her what I had too. There was a silent agreement between us not to ruin them, but to protect ourselves and our kids. To finish it, as I walked back to my car, something inside me shifted. The pain was still there, yeah, but it was transforming. No longer a wound, now a scar in progress. And scars, I've learned, mean survival. I texted Claire, "Can't wait to see you this weekend. Daddy loves you more than anything." Because in the middle of the wreckage, I still had one thing Madison couldn't corrupt. My daughter. It was a Tuesday when I finally stood face to face with Madison again. Not in a courtroom. Not through texts. Not in a dream where I imagined saying everything I never had the guts to say. No, this was real. Flesh and blood. And she still wore that smug little look on her face like she held the winning hand. I had arranged a neutral location, a park near our old neighborhood. Claire was with my sister for the evening. Madison arrived 20 minutes late, walking like she owned the damn planet. Tight jeans, sunglasses, phone glued to her hand. She didn't even say hello. "Let's get this over with," she muttered, sliding into the seat across from me. I stared at her for a moment. This was the woman I'd once shared a life with, vacations, holidays, a child, and now she felt like a stranger with my last name. "You lied to me," I said simply. "For months, maybe years." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please don't act like some helpless victim. You cheated on me." And she leaned back, crossing her arms. "We both know our marriage was over a long time ago. You were just too afraid to admit it." I was committed. I stayed. I showed up. You didn't. Her lips curled into something like a smirk. "You showed up physically, sure. Emotionally? You were a ghost. You buried yourself in work, routines, and Claire. I needed more." "So you found it in a married gym rat with 2 kids? Madison shrugged. "Trent made me feel alive. Like a woman. Not just some suburban housewife wiping peanut butter off countertops while you sat on the couch zoning out." Her words were venom-coated. I could feel my jaw clenching, hands tightening into fists on the picnic table. But I didn't raise my voice. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. "You used Claire as a weapon," I said slowly. "Told her things no child should ever hear. That I'm not a real man. That you found someone better." Madison's face flickered with something, guilt, maybe, but it disappeared as fast as it came. "She asked questions," she said coolly. I answered. "You manipulated her. She deserves the truth." "No," I snapped. "She deserves parents who don't poison her against each other for their own ego trips." There was a pause. Then she laughed like a genuine, unbothered laugh. "God, you always made everything so dramatic. This is why I needed Trent. He didn't take life so seriously." "Is that why he cheated on his wife too? Because life's a joke to him?" Her smile froze. Yeah. Julia and I talked, I continued. She gave me everything. Your texts, your hotel bookings, even the photo of you wearing the red dress I bought you in bed with him. Madison blinked. Her composure cracked for a second, but she covered it up quickly, flipping her hair back like none of this mattered. Congratulations. Won a medal? No. I want you to understand something. I leaned in. You think this is still a game? You think I'm going to crawl back, or beg, or break? I'm not. This isn't a soap opera. It's real life, and you're losing everything. She snorted. I'm not losing anything. You already have. I stood up. She stayed sitting, arms crossed like a sulking teenager. For what it's worth, I said, I really did love you. Even when you didn't deserve it. Even when you stopped trying. But I'm done loving someone who spits on loyalty and calls it liberation. She didn't reply. As I turned and walked away, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of the grass, the distant laughter of kids playing nearby. It felt like closure, even though I knew this wasn't the end yet, not by a long shot, but something had shifted. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was just a woman I used to know. And now, she was finally powerless. The days that followed that confrontation were strange. There was no screaming match. No begging. No apologies. Just silence. A vacuum of emotion where love used to live. Madison didn't call, didn't text, didn't even ask about Claire. And that told me everything I needed to know. I had been married to a selfish shadow, not a wife. Claire, bless her heart, tried to act like everything was normal. She drew me pictures, told me about school, and asked if I'd ever seen a rainbow with two ends. I smiled, tucked her in every night, and kissed her forehead like it was the only ritual keeping me from crumbling. But at night, when the lights were off and the house was quiet, it hit me hard. Not just the betrayal, the humiliation. Madison hadn't just cheated, she'd mocked me, replaced me, compared me, and worst of all, used our daughter as her megaphone. I remember sitting on the couch at 1 a.m., staring at my reflection in the dark TV screen. I looked empty, like someone who'd been robbed of his foundation and was still pretending there was ground beneath him. I thought about everything, the birthdays, the Christmas mornings, the nights when she cried in my arms because she thought she'd failed as a mother, and all of it felt like a movie I'd watch with someone who didn't even exist. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a death. The death of trust, of identity, of the man I was when I believed in forever. I didn't want revenge. Not the Hollywood kind, anyway. No violence. No scorched earth theatrics. I wanted clarity. I wanted to know why. And the problem is people like Madison never give real answers. Just recycled nonsense and Instagram quotes about self-growth and deserving more. That Friday, I got a call from her sister, Amber. We'd always gotten along. She was the only one from Madison's family who actually seemed to have a soul. I'm sorry, Amber said. I had no idea she was doing all this. It's not your fault, I replied. But thanks. She's a changed, Josh. I don't know what happened to her. I almost laughed. She started believing her own fantasy that she was meant for more. That she was above loyalty. Amber hesitated. She told me she was going to move in with Trent, but I guess that fell apart. It did. His wife kicked him out. Took the kids, and from what I hear, he ghosted Madison after that. Amber sighed. She's not doing great. Good, I thought. But I didn't say it. Instead, I asked, did she ever regret anything? Say anything about Claire? There was a pause, a long one. She said Claire would understand one day, Amber said quietly. She thinks being with Trent was her truth. I felt my stomach turn her truth as if betrayal was some spiritual calling. After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and went out to the back porch. The night was cold. Still, I looked up at the stars and realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was disgusted, not just with her, but with the version of myself that tolerated so much for so long. The version that made excuses, accepted crumbs, and believed that love meant staying silent while someone slowly dismantled your soul. No more. Claire deserved better. I deserved better. So I made a list. A real one. On paper. Finalize custody papers. Remove Madison from all joint accounts. Transfer the house deed. Launch my new LLC. Therapy, not for the pain, but for the scars. And most of all, never allow someone to treat me like I'm disposable again. I folded that list, tucked it in my wallet, and went back inside. Madison might have broken the man I was, but the man I was becoming, she wouldn't even recognize him. It was a rainy Wednesday afternoon when I got the email. Not from Madison. Not from her lawyer. From the landlord of the apartment complex where she had moved in after our separation. Subject, urgent payment default and tenant conflict. I opened it expecting a clerical mistake or misdirected notice, but no. It was very much addressed to me. Apparently, Madison had used my name and credit on the lease agreement when she couldn't qualify on her own. The woman torched our marriage and still expected my signature to be her safety net. I called the number in the email. Yeah, the building manager confirmed. She stopped paying rent last month. We've tried contacting her, but she just keeps saying her husband would take care of it. I laughed. I'm not her husband. Not anymore. Well, if this isn't resolved within 10 days, he said, it'll go on your credit, not hers. My hand tightened around the phone. Send me the lease. I'll forward it to my attorney. She forged my name. And just like that, Madison added fraud to her resume. But things didn't stop there. That weekend, I got a message from one of her old friends, Jessica. We hadn't spoken in years, but she'd always been decent. Straight shooter. She sent one sentence and a photo. She's at it again. This time with a guy named Brian. Married. Father of 3. The photo showed Madison sitting in the passenger seat of a black Escalade. Legs crossed, sunglasses on, laughing like nothing could touch her. Brian's hand was on her thigh, his wedding ring clearly visible. She didn't learn. She didn't care. It wasn't about love. It never was. It was about power, control, the high of knowing someone else's life could orbit around her even temporarily. I should have felt rage, but I didn't. I felt something worse. Pity. Madison wasn't living. She was spiraling with a fresh coat of lipstick. Her alpha had dumped her. Her reputation was rotting. Her daughter didn't want to FaceTime her anymore. Not after the last call where Madison called me weak in front of Claire and Claire just hung up. Even Amber stopped defending her. She sent me a message after seeing Madison's latest stunt. I've tried. I really have, but she's unreachable. You're better off. And yet, through all of this, Madison still hadn't reached out. No apology. No attempt to fix anything. She built her castle on lies, and now that it was burning, she'd rather pretend it was fireworks than admit she lit the match. Claire asked me one night as I brushed her hair, "Daddy, why doesn't Mommy come see me anymore?" That hit harder than any betrayal ever could. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said, "Sometimes, grown-ups make choices they don't understand until it's too late, but I will always be here. Always." She hugged me tight, that small, warm grip of a child who just wanted stability, something Madison never truly gave her. The next day, I filed for full custody. My lawyer, Cole, didn't even blink. "She's digging her own grave," he said. "This won't be a fight. It'll be paperwork." By the end of the week, I had temporary custody granted by the court. Madison didn't even show up to the hearing, probably too busy chasing her next real man. I started to feel something I hadn't in months. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But silence. Stillness. No drama. No mind games. No half-truths dressed as confessions. I dropped Claire off at school that Friday, kissed her goodbye, and watched her run into the building with her little backpack bouncing behind her. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I looked up at the sky and didn't feel like it was collapsing. It was clearing. She had lost everything because she chose image over substance. And me? I was finally choosing me. The first Saturday morning without drama felt foreign. No accusations. No secrets being whispered behind locked bathroom doors. No waiting for the garage door to creak open at 2 a.m., wondering whose scent she'd bring home this time. Just me, Claire, and a quiet kitchen filled with the smell of pancakes and orange juice. I was washing dishes when I got a text. Unknown number. "You've made your point. You happy now?" I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another. "I lost my job. My car's gone. I'm being evicted. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Full custody. The house. Everything." Still, I didn't answer because I knew what this was. Madison wasn't apologizing. She wasn't owning her actions. She was deflecting, turning her collapse into my fault. Classic. I turned off my phone and went back to making pancakes with Claire. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts like a dress, flipping batter with a concentration I hadn't seen in weeks. "You're doing great," I told her. She beamed. "Better than Mommy?" I paused. "You're doing great because you care." She smiled again, and for a moment, that was enough. Later that night, after Claire fell asleep during a movie, I turned my phone back on. 10 messages, all from Madison. The last one was a voice note. I played it once through headphones. Her voice was slurred, crying or drunk. Maybe both. "You ruined me, Joshua, you really did. All because I wanted something different. Was that so wrong? You could have just let me go and left it alone, but no. You had to win." Win? That's how she saw it. Like this was some competition and not the shrapnel of a life she blew apart. I deleted the messages, blocked the number. She'd finally hit rock bottom and still couldn't admit she jumped head first. The next week brought another shift. Cole called. Her lawyer finally reached out. They want to discuss terms. "She wants to negotiate?" I asked. "No," he said with a laugh. "She wants to bargain. Said she'll sign over full custody if we don't pursue fraud charges on the lease." Also wants visitation whenever she's back on her feet. I leaned back in my chair. What do you recommend? Take it, he said. Claire's better off with you. We both know that. Let her drift into the background like she's been doing anyway. So I signed the agreement. Full custody, no child support, zero obligations. Madison was legally our daughter's mother but no longer anything resembling a parent. She signed the next day. Amber texted me later that evening. She's couch hopping. Can't hold a job. Spends more time crying than anything else. I don't know who she is anymore. I did. She was the mask she wore. Once it slipped, there was nothing underneath but performance and panic. The house, once filled with tension and footsteps at odd hours, became something else entirely home. I replaced her paintings with Claire's drawings, donated the throw pillows she insisted on that no one ever used, deleted her playlist from the Bluetooth speaker, put my name on the deed, officially. There was a calm that came not from forgetting the past, but from reclaiming my space. Reclaiming me. I started running again. Not from something, but towards something. Not from the pain, but through it, and every mile reminded me this isn't survival anymore. This is rebirth. The woman who once called me weak, boring, replaceable? She was now a ghost I didn't fear anymore because I'd stopped chasing closure and started chasing peace. Peace changes a man, not overnight, not like a movie montage where the guy shaves his beard, hits the gym, and suddenly becomes whole again. No. Real peace comes in fragments, quiet mornings, steady routines, little wins that rebuild a broken soul like bricks after a storm. I wasn't the same Josh who sat in that motel months ago. Heart cracked in silence. I was lighter, sharper, and for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't pretending to be okay. I was. Claire noticed it too. She smiled more, laughed longer, stopped asking when her mom was coming back. Instead, she asked if we could adopt a dog. We did. A goofy little golden retriever named Moose who chewed everything and loved unconditionally. Madison would have hated him too loud, too messy, too needy. Claire adored him. One night, while we were all curled up watching a movie, Claire turned to me out of nowhere. Daddy? Yeah, baby. Do you think Mommy ever really loved us? I paused, heart clenching. She loved us the way she knew how, I said slowly. But sometimes people confuse love with attention or excitement or needing to be seen. Claire thought about that for a second. But you love me the real way, right? I kissed the top of her head with everything I've got. She didn't ask about her mother again. Meanwhile, I focused on the business I'd launched during the storm. What started as a consulting hustle on LinkedIn had grown into a full-fledged operation. 5 employees, dozens of clients, and enough income to never look back. I named it Substance Consulting. Felt fitting. One afternoon, while reviewing invoices in the office, I got an email from Madison. Subject line, no drama, just one thing. I almost deleted it on instinct, but curiosity cracked me. She'd written, "You don't have to respond. I just needed to say this. I thought I was chasing freedom, but all I really did was run from responsibility. You were boring because you were stable. Predictable because you were dependable. I called you weak because I felt small. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know you were the strong one all along." I stared at the screen. No apology. No request. Just honesty. Late pointless, but real. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, because I'd already buried the version of me that needed anything from her. She had picked image. I had become substance. That weekend, Claire and I went on a small trip to the mountains. No Wi-Fi, no distractions, just firewood, fresh air, and a little girl who'd survived more than most adults ever will and still woke up smiling. One evening, as we watched the sunset dip below the horizon, she reached for my hand and said, "I hope I grow up to be like you." And for the first time since all this began, I felt tears in my eyes, not from pain, but from pride. Because that's the thing Madison never understood. Being an alpha isn't about muscles or ego or control. It's about showing up when it's hard, loving when it's inconvenient, being real when others fake it. She lost everything chasing a mirage. I gained everything by standing still. And now? Now I was unshakable. I never planned to write any of this down. But I found myself staring at an empty Word doc one evening after Claire went to bed, the house quiet except for Moose snoring at my feet. There was no real purpose, no audience, just me, and the urge to finally close the chapter with something permanent. Because closure isn't a phone call. It's not an apology. It's not even justice. It's peace. And peace is a decision. It's the moment you stop hoping they'll change and start changing yourself instead. I didn't respond to Madison's last email. Never wrote her back. Never asked for explanations. I didn't need them. I had already lived the answers. I'd seen what love wasn't, and from that, I finally understood what love should be. It's the quiet coffee in the morning. It's the hand on your shoulder during bad news. It's pancakes with your daughter. It's showing up day after day, even when no one's watching. She called that boring. But boring is just what the selfish call stability when they're addicted to chaos. I learned that when someone shows you they're willing to burn everything down for attention, you don't offer them water. You hand them the match and walk away. Madison? She kept spiraling. Amber told me she tried getting back with Trent. He ghosted her. Then there was Brian, the married guy with 3 kids that ended in court drama. She bounced from couch to couch, burning every bridge like she'd never need to cross one again. And maybe that's her fate, to keep chasing adrenaline until it spits her out in the dark again. Me? I kept building. Claire started therapy not because she was broken but because she deserved tools. She talked about her mom less and less and more about dogs and stars and her new dream of becoming a vet. She was healing. So was I. I dated a little. Nothing serious. Just coffee dates, a few dinners. But the difference was staggering. I no longer felt the need to impress someone into loving me. I wasn't performing anymore. I was just me. And that was enough. One Sunday, Claire and I were walking through a park when she stopped and pointed to a couple holding hands near the fountain. "Do you think you'll ever love someone like that again?" she asked. I looked at her, all freckles and wild ponytail and curiosity, and I smiled. "Maybe," I said, "but only if she loves you too." She grinned. "Deal." Sometimes, I still get flashbacks. Not the good ones, the lies, the look in Madison's eyes when she shrugged off her betrayal like it was casual. Like it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. But they passed because I survived the worst thing she ever did to me. And I came out stronger, sharper, and more present than I ever was with her. This story, my story, isn't about revenge. It's about resurrection. She tried to bury me in doubt and blame and manipulation, but she forgot that some men don't stay down. Some men rise. So if you're reading this and you've been cheated on, gaslit, replaced, made to feel like you were never enough, hear me. You are enough. You always were. You just loved the wrong person too long. Now it's your turn to pack your bags, to find your peace, to disappear from the wreckage and rebuild from the ashes. Because 30 days after I left, she had no lover, no apartment, no status, but I had peace, a new company, and full custody. She lost everything because she chose image over substance, and I chose me.